Hello, welcome back to my channel. Okay, guys have been reaching out to me. They have probably set up their LinkedIn profile, or they've probably set up their profile on Indeed or some of these job search platforms, and they are getting calls from recruiters, and they are faced with a very key problem, or they are worried about how to answer the very first questions on phone. In this video, I'm focused on some of the questions which you should expect from a recruiter after setting up your profile. By the end of the video, we will give you the tips necessary to get your recruiter engaged after the very first call. If it's your first time coming across our content, hit the subscribe button and get subscribed, because we share a lot of content here to help you in your DevOps and cloud computing journey. Recruiters first would, if they're reaching out to you from LinkedIn, which is one of the most ways which recruiters reach out to talent, they are going to ask you to give best number they can use to reach out to you. So the moment you provide your number there, it means you should be expected, or you should be ready to receive a call from that recruiter trying to find out a little bit about you and to know if you are a perfect fit for a particular role. Some recruiters actually get these job descriptions and they get into your DMs and they start asking questions related to what job opportunity they have. The very first question which every recruiter will ask from you is, tell me about yourself. By you answering the tell me about yourself question, you are making sure that your response ties with the job description which has been sent to you. Take for example, they pull up a resume or they pull up a job that talks about a DevOps engineer, and the company requirements is someone who has experience with infrastructure as code tools, microservice tools, orchestration tools, and all of that. The moment you're being asked to tell me about yourself, you should relate your experience with the skill set which the job description requires. If you're asked, tell me about yourself, you want to highlight the skills which you have that match the job description before you. So don't go and say things, maybe your family background or your passion or what you love, that are non-related directly or indirectly to the job description. You want to talk about your skill set. That way you're going to give your recruiter or whoever is having that first call with you the impression that you are a perfect fit for them to move on the interviewing process with you to perhaps their hiring manager. Be very careful when you're answering tell me about yourself. Highlight mostly your skill set, and if need be, you can now highlight some of the non-related or non-tech related experience which you have, maybe problem solving, team management, working in a team, and all of that. So oftentimes the recruiters will definitely ask if you went through the job description. So the second question which you're expecting from recruiters is, did you go through the job description? Before receiving any call with respect to a particular job description or with respect to the recruiter reaching out to you, make sure you go through the job description. Why am I saying you go through the job description? Is because by the time you're telling about yourself to the recruiter, you should be able to match your skill set with the requirements of the company in the job description. So you going through the job description will give you more insight on some of the things which the company needs and how you can be a perfect fit for that role. And oftentimes I tell people, when you go through the job description and there's a particular skill set which you are not confident about or which you've never implemented, the moment you are going through the job description, that can inspire you to go on and sharpen one or two things before the interview, so that by the time they're coming to ask you to talk about yourself or whatever the case might be, you should already have the confidence of having mastery of most of or all the requirements which the company has listed. Another question which the hiring managers or the recruiters will ask from you is, how long will it take for your current contract to end? Well, maybe you've not been on a contract before, or you're currently on a contract, or you're currently in a particular role. The recruiters want to be sure that you can finish the interviewing process within the shortest possible time to get onto the role which they're advertising. Before going for the job interview, you have a particular time frame which your current role takes to an end. Before going there, you say maybe you have 2 weeks to the end of your current role, or you have a month to the end of your current role. And of course, a follow-up question might be, how long will it take for you to get started? Putting aside the onboarding process and all of that, they want to know how long it will take for you to get started in that role. You should have information on when it will take or how long it will take for you to end your current contract. And when you have that information, by the time they're asking you how long it will take for you to end your current contract, you won't be surprised, because you already have an idea. For some first discovery calls or some first discovery phone calls, the recruiters might require to know more about your team in your current role. So they'll be, tell me about your team, or if you have experience working in a team, you want to actually demonstrate the ability to work in a team. The recruiters definitely will ask, tell me about your current team. And once you're asking about your current team, well, I guess you should already be on a team, or you're working already on a role and you have an idea on what your team looks like. So you can say you're currently working in a team of, because you're in a small company, or you're working in a team of 100 engineers because you're in a big company, and in this team of 15 engineers, we have maybe 4 DevOps engineers that work hand in glove with the entire development team to ensure that a smooth integration, continuous deployment of the infrastructure code or of the entire application. And you equally have the developers who are working on building application code. Then you have the testers and you have the security guys. So just have an idea on the team structure maybe for your current role, because they will definitely want to know more about your team and how you currently or how you actively engage in your team. So by the time you're talking about your team, you should be able to bring out the things which you as an individual you're doing in your team. The next question which most recruiters equally ask is about your location. The reason why they're asking you about your location is because they want to know if you are going to require visa sponsorship to come to the United States or wherever their job description is. So once they're asking about your current location, if you are maybe in the United States, you want to mention the state in which you are, because that by default that will say if you're able to work remote, if you are able to work hybrid, or if you are able to work on-site. That way your location will have a lot to play in your entire performance. They will definitely ask you your location and if you are open to hybrid work, or if you're open to fully remote, or if you're open to on-site. Now the next question which you should be expecting from the recruiters or from the hiring managers is, what are your salary expectations? So coming to the role, you can talk about your salary expectation maybe on an hourly basis or on a yearly basis. If you're talking on an hourly basis, maybe you want to mention you're expecting $60 per hour, or $65 per hour, or $70 per hour, or you want to mention your annual pay, maybe $120,000 a year, or 130, or whatever the case might be. But you should have an idea on your salary expectation before going in for the interview or before taking the call. And mind you, you should be technical in talking salary, because you don't want to mention a salary expectation that is way more than what they are willing to offer, or which is way less than what you are worth. Your salary expectation should be in the margin of what is listed in the job description. So if, for example, the job description says they're willing to pay 130 to 150, and they're asking you what are your salary expectations, by default, you should mention the salary expectation which is between that range. And sometimes it's also very wise for you to say that you're currently earning, for example, if the job description says 130 to 140 or 150, and they're asking you what are your salary expectations, I will say that I'm currently earning 125 in my current role. So I'm looking forward to a job that will give me the opportunity to have a new raise, or to have a raise in my salary or my income bracket. Your salary to determine your experience, because if you're a senior, maybe a senior DevOps engineer or a senior AWS cloud engineer, you don't want to mention in maybe $110,000 or $115,000, because you are a senior, and by it being a senior means you've been in the industry for over 5 years and you want to actually receive what you're worth, right? So that is something which you should have at the back of your mind when going in talk with hiring managers or your recruiters. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button right away and get subscribed, because a lot of videos like this come up to help you in your cloud computing journey. Now, of course, irrespective of it being cloud computing or DevOps or solutions architect, they are going to ask you right from the very first call your experience about a given set of technologies. The recruiting manager may ask, tell me about your experience with infrastructure as code tools. Why are they asking your experience about a particular set of technologies? That is because they want to be sure that the person they are getting in to move or to present to their hiring managers meets the skill set which the job requires. So the moment you are being asked, tell me about your experience with this technology or with that technology, you want to bring out a lot of expertise around those. Now, after this first call and you get maybe to the hiring managers, they will then connect you with the engineers in the company that will actually perform the real technical interview with you. The moment you are being asked to tell me about a particular skill set, you want to bring out your expertise to the fullest. It also goes a long way with you demonstrating success or project completion in some of those areas. So they will ask, tell me about your experience with infrastructure as code, and I'll mention my usage of AWS CloudFormation to write CloudFormation templates to automate creation of resources with CloudFormation, and then equally my experience with Terraform in automating infrastructure with Terraform, writing Terraform modules, and then modularizing Terraform, writing reusable Terraform scripts and all of that. So that summarizes your experience with infrastructure as code tools. In other cases, they might ask your experience with a particular cloud technology. If you've learned Amazon Web Service or Google Cloud, or if you've learned Microsoft Azure, that is an opportunity for you to mention the skills which you have in that cloud technology. We have a special series to cover AWS services which you must know during your interviews. You want to watch all those videos to be able to demonstrate experience with AWS Cloud using those services which I mentioned in the video. The link of that is also in the description. The last thing which a recruiter or the hiring manager will ask you is if you have any questions for them. The way I would recommend you responding to this question first is to ask about the key thing. Always ask first about the key task which you perform or the key value addition which you can bring into this team if you're being hired. The moment you can ask to know more about the value proposition which you can bring to this team, before you're going to your next interview, you already have all those things listed. So if they say we are looking for someone who actually has good experience with Python or someone who has good experience with AWS because we have some production servers, we want to migrate to the cloud and all of that, and I feel like that's why we are hiring this for this particular role, that's telling you that by the time you're coming for the next round of interview, you should have refreshed yourself with experience in migration, with experience in Python, and any other relevant experience, right? So the first question you should ask, if given the opportunity to ask a question, is you want to know more about the value addition which you can bring to this team if you're hired for this role. And then, of course, the second and most important question is what are the next steps in this interviewing process? How many rounds of interviews left and all of that? So you want to know the next steps in the interviewing process. So that, in my opinion, are a given set of questions which most recruiters will ask in their very first call with you after getting to review your profile, maybe on Indeed or LinkedIn or Glassdoor or whatever job search platform. Have a mastery on the things which I've listed in this video, and after that you have the opportunity to move from just that first level phone call into you getting technical interviews, and why not you getting your job. Once again, thank you for watching this video to the end. If this is your first time coming across our content, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that every time you have a new video released, you can go through it and sharpen your skills. And equally, don't forget to join my Slack community with the description in the channel. I'll see you in our next video where I'll be sharing with you more interview tips.